What is going on, guys? Today I think we're gonna finally talk about Palantir. I'm gonna give you my take on it as to why I'm invested in this company. There's quite a few reasons, but I'm gonna try to touch on some of the most important ones. I'm gonna try to make this a quick video, but I want to follow this up with more information and more of my perspective on what Palantir is. There's actually tons of stuff here. Most of the people are really just invested in it for surface level reasons, so I want to get a little bit more granular if possible. Okay, so why am I invested in Palantir? Straight up, the reason I'm invested in the beginning is, well, one of the first reasons is because I applied there and I really like what they were offering. But part of that is because, like, when it boils down to it, in my opinion, Palantir now is where Google was in 2006, for example. I really think this has that kind of potential. Let me address the main comparisons from an investor perspective, okay? I'm coming at it from a technology and a developer perspective, and the thing is, people don't actually understand what the company is. That's actually a benefit for investors. It's still, I think, relatively low in terms of what it's probably worth in the future. But Palantir is basically a AI company from the core up, okay? So the difference is, think about it like back in the day with Google, right? When Google came out, the reason why they were so effective is because their technology was built up from their foundation, and their foundation was driven on based on their search algorithm, right? You had competitors there too. You had Yahoo, a bunch of other stuff, and they basically ate them all up. If you think about it, Yahoo, it's not like they didn't have searching algorithms and stuff, but they had algorithms that were catered towards something that was more appropriate for the time, which was, if you went to go online to look for something, Yahoo would curate a list of links that you would most likely click, and then it would be something based on that, right? And then advertisers would jump on top of that and so forth. Google basically avoided all that completely. They wrote a completely separate algorithm, which was very proprietary in the sense that it did exactly what you kind of wanted it to. You just didn't know about it because it was the technology up. So the search part that everyone saw was really just like a layer on top of the technology that it was sitting on, the algorithm itself. And Palantir is that kind of company. They have like the Edge AI, all these other things that they offer, where all the products, like things like Foundry, Apollo, all of these things are actually just layers on top of their built, or on top of their core technology, which is the AI platform, or AI generally, right? And this is why this is a big thing for me. So it's very important to keep in mind, okay? Like, AI is eating up the world in the future, okay? It's not where it probably should be right now, but it's definitely one of the future things to watch out for. Google is actually another AI company if you're really interested in them, but of course they're fairly mature right now. I think Palantir is at its early stage. Let me just give you some technology stuff about it, okay? They do have, for example, they talk about cloud. They talk about how their stuff seamlessly integrates. Now, from a technology perspective, guys, it's all about integrations, okay? There's tons of software out here that have, like, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. But you got to understand something. A lot of these third-party vendors and software that's being provided serve a very, very specific purpose. And how you move on, if you move on to the next cycle, then you have to use another third party or something that's from the same third party but a different offering, right? And they have to do some integrations in between to save that time and increase the efficiency of your development teams and your rollouts and stuff like that. Now, the problem is, whenever you have these third-party vendors, you will have a lot of times issues integrating. And one of my jobs before was actually writing software in the middle to do that integration process. With Palantir, they're actually trying to take that all and build it on top of their existing infrastructure. So what's happening is they're using the AI to say, okay, you're probably going to want to do something like this. You're probably going to want to know about this in the pipeline. You're probably going to, they give them these kind of suggestions that are very, very crucial. They're trying to take all of these integrations and put them into one tool. That's one of their, I think that's Apollo. Okay. So this kind of stuff is very, very priceless, especially for SDLC, software development lifecycle. So for someone coming from a tech perspective, you'll be able to see this firsthand. You'll know exactly what the problems are, and this addresses a ton of those problems. From someone coming from an investor angle, this is a through and through high tech company, very deep tech company. So I would say look into what kind of integrations these guys have and what they provide and how they operate with the cloud. Keep in mind, okay, maybe 10 years ago in 2010, the stuff you would want to invest in is probably Microsoft, Amazon, Google, right? Because the cloud was just really taken off from 2008 up. Right now, it's at a stage where it's a little bit mature already, but they want to get these big long-term government contracts, and a lot of these guys, they're slow, right? So they have specific needs, and the cloud is kind of stagnating at this point, right? That's why there's a lot of new players and all this other stuff. So it's stagnating a bit. That doesn't mean it's not growing at all. It's definitely growing at a very good rate, but it's not growing at a rate where you're going to get crazy returns for someone like a retail investor. Palantir basically sits one layer down, where it says, okay, whatever you're doing right now, we'll just take all of the data that you're doing, we'll analyze it and give you suggestions at a very basic level, right? On top of suggestions, we're going to say, okay, we're also going to track all of this, so whoever your developer, project manager, whoever has access to this platform can look at it and actually trace from like inception all the way to the destination as to where this piece of code or whatever it is that you're trying to do is going to go. That kind of stuff is really unheard of. There's very few offerings that do that, and the few offerings that do that, again, they do very specific things, so then you have to add other third parties and integrations to actually make that work. So from a technology perspective, that's one of the biggest reasons that I'm invested in Palantir. Secondly, these guys are super motivated, right? They're motivated to deliver this thing, and you got to understand something. Like, take this back to Google for a second. Back then, if you said this Google company, whatever, called Google, they have like a search engine online where you just go and search stuff. They're going to grow to become like, over like $1 trillion market cap. You'd get slapped in the head, right? Straight up, right? They're like, oh, Google, what are you talking about? There's a bunch of nerds. They just have like a web page where you search stuff. You guys don't understand. The underlying technology that Google had, the search algorithm, was so powerful that just the results that they got in from the search algorithm gave them ideas that, oh my God, we could use this algorithm to do X, Y, Z other things, right? Look at the advertising revenue that they get, right? The Google ads and all this other stuff. That stuff is all just based on the same underlying technology. Now, it has evolved since then, right? But that underlying tech is what allowed them to think of all these different business models. So either they competed or acquired whatever companies they need to get that specific goal, in order. So it's a very important thing to keep that in mind. It's very easy to just listen to people that don't understand or whatever, and I don't understand fully either, but I'm saying don't look at it from a business perspective. If you truly want the gains, look at it from a technology perspective. Talk to somebody who's a developer or some kind of orchestration person. Ask them what the kind of problems they actually have in their day-to-day jobs. I can tell you straight up, the issues all the time are things like pipeline, CI/CD, basically getting some piece of code over to some kind of destination. So this whole dev team and agile operations are a big problem, and this is just one thing that Palantir does, but they use their underlying engine to actually be able to give proper suggestions and give optimizations moving forward for these kind of teams. Sorry, my dogs are playing with the ball. Okay, so long story short, again, I'm comparing this to Google way early. The underlying technology here is much stronger than something like Snowflake. And just to address that real quick, Snowflake and all these other companies, right? Let me explain to you why I always say like they're not the same. Okay, they're very similar for sure, but in the reasons why they're not the same, one of the main ones are that Snowflake really addresses the exact problem. Okay, think about it this way: if you're sick or something, right, and you have some kind of like headache or something, you take a Tylenol, right? Snowflake is like a Tylenol; it addresses the immediate problem, but it doesn't actually provide for you any sort of external gains or anything to link to that and move forward. So, for example, if it's an AI assisted sort of endeavor, right? So, like you're thinking. If there's a problem with one part of the software development lifecycle, Snowflake will come in. They say, okay, we have this one specific offering. It does what you're talking about, but it does it really well. Okay, let's take that. That's it. It basically is an optimization tool, is what I'm saying, right? So Snowflake will come in, they'll optimize your business processes. Palantir comes in and they not only optimize, but they basically catalyze your entire, mode of operation. So they catalyze everything that you want to do, and they make it. They give you the possibility of basically being even more efficient and drawing more conclusions and more sort of optimizations from that moving forward. It's really like it's really something that if you have in your toolbox, you can draw multiple things from it rather than just fix the problem that's in front of you. So from a software perspective, from a technology perspective, that's super, super important. I don't think companies realize this yet. And the reason for this is mainly because, and maybe I'll do another video set on this, but the reason for this is because most of the company structure, and I'm part of this too, right, is you have your existing PMs and your architects and things like that. But these guys really they're just trying to, most of them are contractors, they're trying to just get their contract renewed, right? Which means they're going to just go with what they know. They're not going to propose something like Palantir, which is totally new, to their directors or whoever they're reporting to, who are usually full-timers, and they want to get they want to get theirs, right? They want to get their promotion. So they're not going to be like, hey man, let me propose this new thing. It's pretty expensive. No one's really done it. Let's try it and let's see how it goes. Rather, they'd go, okay, so what is the industry average? What is the standard that XYZ? What is the standard that Google's doing? What is the standard that blah, blah, blah are doing? Let's just copy that, right? So that's really why the adoption isn't going to be as quick. But once these big companies, or one of these big cornerstone companies, even take a look at Palantir, it'll get out there, and at that point it's just going to just skyrocket after that, from a stock price perspective, also from a company growth perspective. So just keep that in mind, guys. I mean, we're still very early stage in this thing. From a technology perspective, they have like 3 or 4 things that they offer, but honestly, it is very, very early. They're I don't know. The sky's the limit for this company, in my opinion. I still think Tesla has a huge growth potential because they're disrupting multiple fields, and they're disrupting just really big money markets. But Palantir has the ability and the implication to actually completely turn around the software world. I'm honestly telling you. So that's the reasons I'm in it. Also, just so you guys know, it's a government. It used to be like a huge government-backed company, right? You know what another government-backed company was? Google, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of good similarities here you can draw from it, but I wanted to touch on a very high level. I just wanted to give you a good gist as to why I'm invested in it and why I continue to be invested in it until or unless something drastic changes. But we're too early to see that. I'd say in 2-3 years, we'll know for sure what these guys are made of. They'll come up with a few more offerings to big companies that completely, optimize their wheelhouse as well as make them super efficient. So we'll see at that point, but that's my take. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.